We were all feeling rather disheartened. Dad put in considerable efforts to secure his transfer, but regrettably nothing was working out. It felt as though we were confined within this mansion. Vinnie's conduct had turned somewhat unusual. She appeared to be in rather poor health. On several occasions she lost consciousness. One particular day, when she vomited at the mere sight of food, Mom became increasingly concerned. Unable to devise any solution, Mom resolved to visit the elderly Amma. After inquiring around, Mom eventually discovered her way to Amma's humble dwelling, which was a modest one-room hut with only a few utensils and a cot as household possessions. She looked a bit worried.
What brings you to visit me in person? You could have simply called me instead.
If anything I mentioned upset you, I sincerely apologize. What exactly are you referring to, ma'am? Has something occurred, Amma? You had advised me not to allow the children to go to the other section, but one day my child accidentally wandered there since that time.
Did Mother recount the entire narrative to them? Upon hearing what Mother conveyed, lines of concern appeared on their foreheads.
How could this potentially be accurate?
They took out a glass of water from the pot and drank it.
Why did you not come earlier? It is far too late at this moment. What exactly do you mean by that?
Please prepare yourself, ma'am. What I am about to disclose might potentially be somewhat challenging for you to handle concerning your child.
Are you speaking nonsense right from the start? I am telling you the truth. History is indeed repeating itself. This is not occurring for the first time. But how is this possible? Who does it involve? What does all of this mean? I am going to narrate the entire story in detail, so I kindly ask you to remain patient throughout. I am definitely not the only child of my parents.
I also had an elder sister whose name was Resham. She was 15 years older than me in age. It was approximately 90 years ago. My father was employed as a fourth-class worker in the postal department. The country was under British colonial rule, and the British officers stayed and resided in this place. This grand and expansive mansion was transformed into a postal bungalow, and my father was tasked with its upkeep and maintenance. My father performed his duties with absolute honesty and integrity. My parents resided in the deteriorated section of the mansion, in the very last room. At that time, the room was not in such a poor condition. The 13-year-old sister also used to live with them in the same room. Over time, my sister became increasingly withdrawn, eventually ceasing to venture outside and began confining herself to the room in solitude. Frequently, she would emit peculiar sounds while staring at the walls during the nighttime. Occasionally, she would burst into tears while seated, and at other times she would erupt into laughter. Following your birth, my mother was unable to conceive any additional children. After moving to this mansion, my mother soon became pregnant again. Meanwhile, under the pretense of maintaining the mansion, a lot of money started coming in from the British government. A significant amount of financial resources began to flow in. During that period, when poverty and hunger were prevalent in many places, our household was abundant with nourishment and wealth. Furthermore, we had an opulent mansion to reside in, and my parents regarded themselves as fortunate and envied their own good fortune. The sole distress in their lives was you. Due to your behavior changing progressively day by day, Abu took you to visit the Maulvi and the exorcist on several occasions. However, there was absolutely no improvement in her condition. No doctor, Vaidya, or healer could fully comprehend the root cause of her problem. Meanwhile, Mother was exceedingly overjoyed with the wonderful news of her pregnancy. But then she was confronted with some truly terrifying news. You were the individual from the tree. On that particular day, the midwife who came to visit Mom informed her of this after seeing you, and she was utterly incredulous. How did you, who remained in the room throughout the day, end up from the tree? People pondered. The dread of disgrace shook Mom to her very core. Somehow, she mustered the courage to tell Dad everything.
It seemed as though a tempestuous storm had struck the entire household. This situation was beyond the realm of imagination and scientific understanding. How could a young girl inquire so affectionately, yet she didn't provide any response? Even when faced with Abu's scoldings, she didn't utter a single word. With no alternative solution visible, Abu ultimately recounted the entire story to an elder in the village. The uncle provided Abu with the address of a tantric practitioner. Abu carefully took a piece of clothing that had been worn by Resham Appa and proceeded to visit the tantric. The tantric accepted the piece of clothing from Abu, inhaled its scent, and commenced chanting various mantras.
The tantric spoke with Abu. Your daughter's situation is indeed quite challenging, but what precisely has transpired with my daughter, and why is all of this happening? There is no spirit or ghostly presence overshadowing your daughter. If that were the case, I might have been able to rescue your daughter. What do you mean by that? A powerful and formidable Jinn has seized control over your daughter's physical form. Jinns possess extraordinary and immense power, and human beings do not possess the strength to halt them. Jinns dwell in their own distinct realm. They do not enter our world unless they are deliberately summoned. Surely someone must have called it here for their own self-serving motives. But why, my child? Please allow me until tomorrow. I will uncover through my profound meditation the reasons and methods by which this powerful Jinn has come here, and what it seeks from your beloved daughter.
After spending the whole night without any sleep, they arrived at the tantric practitioner early the following morning.
I have been performing tantra rituals in the cemetery throughout the entire night. Your beloved child is presently under the influence of an extraordinarily powerful Jinn.
It was called forth from its own realm for a particular objective. The emperor dwelling in this grand mansion compensated a sorcerer to satisfy his unseeing ambition.
The individual who uncovered the passageway to that mysterious realm was exceptionally talented. He revealed the hidden secrets of the spirit world to the sovereign to demonstrate his own magnificence. The monarch, in his relentless pursuit to acquire everything swiftly and without effort, summoned them. With anger and frustration filling its eyes from being forced to leave its own realm, the genie questioned the emperor. A sparkle lit up in the king's eyes as he imagined that with the genie's help he could conquer the world.
What? I am the sovereign ruler of Chandpur, and you have manifested in my service. It is your obligation to comply with my command. Upon hearing the emperor's authoritative words, the genie respectfully bowed.
Time's up.
They exclaimed with double the velocity and suddenly commenced to expand upwards in the direction of the power. Observing all of this, the monarch began to feel increasingly uneasy. He had thoroughly perused the tome authored by the sorcerer, which stated that a genie fulfills every desire of the individual it acknowledges as its master. Yet this particular genie possessed a distinct disposition. Whenever humans ventured beyond their limits to investigate another, in the eagerness to comprehend the world, any unwise step taken has frequently resulted in devastation. Humans are undeniably the most intelligent and powerful creatures inhabiting the world. Yet their extensive studies and predictions are not invariably accurate. It is not necessarily essential that, unlike Hanuman, this particular genius was causing destruction instead of expansion, and once again, a valuable lesson was imparted.
Uncle, let's hurry and return home swiftly, Sachin exclaimed, gently shaking his mother. Sachin's voice brought her back to the current moment.
What happened? Is there something special?
Mother, please go and observe for yourself what has transpired. Upon arriving at home, what she witnessed caused her heart to leap into her throat. She observed that I was both standing and collapsing, while Vinny was speaking in two distinct voices. One voice was unmistakably her own, in which she was frantically calling out for immediate assistance, and the other was a masculine voice, incredibly deep and thunderous in nature. The masculine voice was not entirely distinct, yet it was comprehended that it was articulating something ominous. Vinay's body appeared completely drained of energy, with his neck inclined to the left side. Saliva was dripping uncontrollably from his mouth. His eyes rolled upwards, and both of his hands seemed twisted in different directions. His disheveled hair contributed to making the entire scene even more terrifying. On the other hand, she was mumbling, facing towards Soni Tiwari. Upon reaching home and seeing such a terrifying situation, Mother started trembling uncontrollably. Pleading earnestly with hands folded to allow Vinny and Soni to leave. Observing this, Soni also began to glare intensely at the mother. Everything was so unforeseen and horrifying that the mind appeared to lose its ability to function, and the heart was desperately urging to somehow preserve your life and flee from that place.
We made a mistake by coming to live in this mansion. Whoever you are, we will vacate this mansion and leave by tomorrow. Just for my daughters, I will never return here again.
Mother was wailing.
With bloodshot eyes and a twisted neck, Soni began banging her head against the wall. Items in the mansion started falling from their places. The sound of a part of the roof collapsing in the dilapidated section of the building made us all scream. Over there she was making a lot of noise. Amidst all of us pounding on the corners, Grandma came and stood behind us. We didn't even realize it. Amma whispered some words in Urdu and placed her hand on Soni's head. Soni's body was immediately freed from whatever had taken hold of it, and hearing Amma's minister's voice, she put her hands over her ears. She then ran towards her room. The storm rising in the mansion also calmed down. We all embraced each other and continued to cry uncontrollably.
If you hadn't arrived today, Amma, that malevolent spirit would have surely taken possession of my Soni as well.
He will not allow any of us to leave this place. We shall all be killed here one by one, Sachin said while crying uncontrollably.
Mother, please suggest a solution. Use your mantra to bring my Vinny back as well. I am unable to do anything further. Madam, this solution will only be effective temporarily. After that period, the Jinn may regain control if it desires. Kindly proceed with your narrative. What transpired subsequently? I am eager to learn the complete truth. The Jinn's fury intensified, and it insisted on an Ifrit. The Emperor was unable to fully comprehend the true significance of the Ifrit. He made an attempt to entice the Jinn with abundant wealth, opulent riches, and exquisite jewelry. But the Jinn became extremely enraged, and in a fit of uncontrollable anger, killed the Emperor right then and there. Subsequently, the Jinn obliterated everything in its path. The entire mansion became completely filled with corpses. Over time, the corpses slowly started to decompose in that very place. As the news circulated throughout the entire village, no one had the courage to approach the mansion. The overpowering stench of the decaying bodies combined with the pervasive dampness within the mansion caused the spirit to enter a dormant state. For numerous years, owing to the absence of any human activity, the Jinn retreated into the most innermost, foul-smelling, and dampest room. Many years went by. Even after an entire decade, when no unfortunate incident took place there, individuals gradually began to forget about the tragic incident and started coming and going around the mansion. Subsequently, the British authorities transformed the long-abandoned mansion into a postal bungalow designated for my father. They were dispatched to this particular location. Over a period of time, the mansion underwent a comprehensive cleaning process. In the chamber where my parents came to reside, even the Jinn manifested in an impeccable form, captivated by the alluring fragrance of the human body. However, the moment he laid eyes on my luxurious silk, he became captivated by its enchanting fragrance, and the Ifrit began to dance with exuberant joy. The Ifrit, referring to the female counterparts of the Jinn, were not deficient in any aspect of wealth, riches, or opulence within their own realm. The sole element that was missing in the realm of the Jinn was the Ifrit, which signifies a female Jinn. Frequently, driven by the desire to acquire an Ifrit, the Jinn abandon their own domain and venture into the earthly realm upon human summoning, called forth by the king through the chanting of Jinn incantations. They were all inscribed in the Arabic language, the genuine significance of which the king did not comprehend. In truth, their interpretation was to arrive, be welcome to this earthly world, abandon all the delights of your own realm, come forth, for she is anticipating your arrival. Come, and with wholeness, reside within this earthly realm and declare your supremacy over other jinns by being in the esteemed presence of the Ifrit. The Ifrit, for whom the Jinn left its own domain, encountered her in my presence as delicate and immaculate as a 13-year-old soft cotton fabric, and exquisitely delicate, whose radiant smile appeared to make every single flower blossom, whose enchanting voice could captivate the entire grand mansion. The one whose intense dark gaze had fallen upon her now desired to be whole at any cost. With his truly remarkable and extraordinary abilities, he bestowed immense prestige, opulence, and abundant prosperity into the lives of your parents. Blinded by their insatiable and unquenchable greed, he gradually began to dominate you, completely taking over your mind. He started to perceive himself as the absolute master of your entire body and life. At merely 15 years old, he placed a nose ring on you, turning you into his fixation. Now, he had you completely under his control.
He was manipulating them like a skilled puppet master. Their minds were nearly obliterated, rendering them incapable of grasping anything. The overwhelming pain had so thoroughly overtaken their minds that they couldn't even comprehend what Ami and Abu were attempting to communicate. Throughout the entire day, there was approximately a half hour when their formidable powers would diminish. During that specific period, frequently when some awareness would gradually return, you would quietly exit the room, or occasionally just offer a gentle and warm smile. The process of taking control over a human soul does not occur instantaneously. Gradually, it subjugates and dominates the human soul. If only you had been able to inform Ami and Abu at that very moment, perhaps they might have been rescued from its grasp.